The next vital sign that I'll be talking about is respiratory rate. Respiratory rate should be in between 8 to 16 breaths per minute. Exercise, if the horse is stressed or excited, can affect this and make it go higher. So to do this, you want to watch the horse's flank move in and out, and that will count as 1 breath. You want to make sure that you never use their nostrils as an indicator, because if they smell something, it can cause their nostrils to move more, and therefore you would not count the actual breaths. So what you want to do is you want to stand by their shoulder and watch their flank move in and out, and you're going to count for 30 seconds. And then whatever you get for 30 seconds, you're going to multiply that by 2, and that will be your horse's respiration rate. The next vital sign that I'll be talking about is gut sounds. So what you normally want to hear for is just constantly moving motion and a lot of gurgles. If you don't hear anything, this could indicate an impaction, which is impaction colic. If you hear that things are very overactive and a runny sound, this could indicate hypermodal colic, and could also result in a lot of diarrhea. If you hear a lot of bubbles, this could indicate that the horse has a lot of gas in its intestinal tract, and that is a type of colic called gas colic. So to listen for colic, you normally want to listen on both sides, because your intestinal tract is so big, and the impaction or whatever's going on in the intestinal tract that's causing the colic could be on one side but not on the other. So it's very important to listen to the 4 quadrants, which is up here and then down here, and then the same thing on the other side. So as a safety precaution, you always want to face their hind end, just in case they do try to cow kick you. And what you're going to do is you're going to press their ear against each of the quadrants. You can also use a stethoscope if you'd like. I personally prefer listening to it with my ear, because I just find that that's easier. So I'll just listen up here, and you want to listen for gurgles and just movement. And then listen in the lower quadrant. And then you want to come around and listen to the upper and lower quadrants on this side as well. So I can hear a lot of gurgles and just movement going around, so that's a good sign. The next vital sign that I'll be talking about is temperature. So for temperature, you want it to be in between 99.5 degrees Fahrenheit to 101.5 degrees. You can either use a mercury thermometer or a digital thermometer. Digital thermometers are faster, but they tend to run a little bit lower than their actual temperature. Mercury thermometers are more accurate, but when you use one, you want to make sure that you shake it below 98 degrees. And then always make sure that there is a clip that you can clip it to their tail, as it can take around 2 minutes for you to get their actual temperature. So for this demonstration, I will show you how to use a digital thermometer to take their temperature. Some things that can alter temperature is if they're standing direct sunlight, or if it's humid outside, or if they just finished exercise. This can cause their temperature to be a little bit higher. So I'm going to use a digital thermometer. So for this, you always want to make sure that you clean the thermometer before you use it, just because you don't know if the person before you cleaned it. So here at William Woods, every barn does it differently. Some barns use rubbing alcohol. In the Hunter Jumper barn, we use Nolvasan. So I'm just going to grab a small pad with some Nolvasan on it, and I'm just going to clean it to make sure it's all clean. And then I'm going to get the Vaseline. You always want to make sure that it's a little bit lubricated before you put it in the horse's anus. So you always want to grab it with your finger. Never stick the thermometer in the Vaseline, just because that's not very hygienic, and other people will use it on other horses. So I just put a little bit on my finger, and then you just rub it over the thermometer. You don't need to put that much on, just enough to where it won't be too dry when you put it inside. And then turn the thermometer on. And then to take the temperature, you want to grab their tail and put it to the side. And then you never want to insert it straight in, as you could insert it in some poop and therefore it could make the temperature a little bit higher. So put it in sideways. And then it'll normally take around 30 seconds for it to beep. So her temperature is 98.9, which is a little bit below the average temperature, which is 99.5 to 101.5. But it's also important to consider that digital thermometers do run a little lower. So some other things that you can look for too is their urine and feces. This is also an indicator of if they're healthy. So for urine, you normally want it to be a tan, yellow, brownish color. That's normal. If it's red, this could indicate some blood. So you would need to get that checked. For feces, a semi-firm consistency is normal. With a brownish, greenish tone, that's normal too. If it's too dry, it could indicate lack of hydration. So something else you can also look for is their overall appearance and behavior. So in terms of appearance, looking at their skin and coat can also be an indicator if something is wrong. And in terms of behavior, knowing what is normal for your horse is very important. So what times they lay down during the day, how much water they normally drink, how much food they normally eat. It's important to know what their norm is before you know what's abnormal to them. So in terms of behavior, some things that they can do if something is wrong is constantly laying down, not drinking as much water as they normally do, not eating as much food as they normally do. Swaying can be an indicator, stall walking if they don't normally do that. So sometimes the vital signs that you check, like temperature, gut sounds, and all of that, could not point towards something, but their behaviors could.